Welcome into WagerTalk TV. I am Drew Martin, joined by Rob Vino and Tony Mejia of WagerTalk.com. We're talking an SEC West battle here, Robbie Vino. We got 57 being the total. We're talking, first of all, Arkansas and Alabama. The Razorbacks going into Tuscaloosa. Almost 3 touchdown underdogs here, Robbie. Minus, let's call it 20 right now. That's Alabama at home. Total of 57-58. What are you liking here, Razorbacks and Crimson Tide?
Well, let's start with Alabama, Drew. A win here, and they clinch the SEC West. So it's a big game for them. They only have Auburn left after this, but a win here gets it done. And a date with Georgia inside the SEC title game. So important for Alabama. Last week, Arkansas got their second straight 3-point win. Close call fashion, 16-13 overtime over LSU. What's interesting about that game is how the offense just went flat on Arkansas. I don't know if it's late season fatigue or what it is, but they had 15 offensive possessions in that game. 11 of those were 5 plays or less, 25 yards total or less. That's not good offense. 8 of those 11 drives, they gained 11 yards or less. There were a lot of 3 and outs last week for Arkansas. They had one other drive in that 15 possession game last week where they went 11 plays and only 29 yards. So, and they turned it over on downs, by the way, on that one. So I don't know what to make of this Arkansas offense right now. The last 2 weeks, they've been outgained by each of their opponents. They only had 283 yards last week, but they lose by 25 total yards to LSU. They lose by 73 yards to Mississippi State. So it's kind of a downward slide here for Arkansas as we close the season. That being said, Alabama's offense was absolutely stifled by the same LSU defense the week before, right? Alabama only had 6 rushing yards against LSU the week before. So maybe we have to credit LSU's defensive effort. The last couple of weeks, Alabama was held to 20 points, 308 total yards, very subpar for Alabama. If we just look at scheduling situation here, Arkansas comes in second of back-to-back road games off of an overtime game with LSU, while Alabama is in their 4th consecutive home game. I don't know who made the schedule for them. They must have made it themselves, but they're going to be playing in their 4th straight home game, and they're off of a cakewalk with New Mexico State. So if you're looking for fresh legs or you're looking for the team that should be much more ready, it would be Alabama here where scheduling is concerned. I think Alabama's defense, though, guys, the great separator here in this game. Since the Florida game, way back towards the beginning of the year where they allowed 439 total yards, they played 5 SEC opponents since that time. Pretty good ones at that. Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Tennessee, good offense, and LSU. In those 5 games, on average, they've only allowed 69 rushing yards per game, 2.4 per carry. I point that out because it's important in this matchup since Arkansas is a run-first team, run-oriented. And they've only allowed 322 total yards per game, 5.0 yards per play. They've outgained those 5 opponents on average by 157 total yards. Big numbers for Alabama and really good numbers out of their defense. Arkansas's defense not as good in SEC play this year, 408 total yards allowed per game. Again, I think the scheduling situation hurts. I think Alabama's defense is on the rise. I'm going to take a slight lean here with Alabama to get the job done. I kind of feel like Arkansas's just got a little bit of this late season fatigue, and Alabama, I think, will be raring to go since they had that walkthrough last week against New Mexico State.
Great analysis there, Robbie. And Tony, coming to you next, offensive issues for Arkansas, 4 straight home games for Alabama. I don't know. Robbie's making a pretty good case here for the home favorite under Nick Saban. What are you liking in Tuscaloosa on Saturday?
Well, I think the line is pretty fair. I set it at 20, I think, on the dot when I did my little I'm going to set my lines and before I look at what Vegas has done. And the books, I think, made them 22 to open, and now they're at 20.5. So it seems fair to me. It's interesting, though, because we didn't know what to make of Arkansas when they played Georgia on October 2nd. I mean, they had just beaten Texas A&M. They had rolled through a Texas team that we thought was a lot better than they ended up being, and then they got annihilated 37-0 in Athens. So is this a team now coming off 3 straight victories? One of them at LSU, which is no longer as impressive as it would have been without all the attrition that the Tigers have faced. What do we make of this Arkansas team in a spoiler role? And they have Treylon Burks, who is a game breaker at wide receiver, but game breakers for the Hogs are few and far between. I think that's where the issues lie if you're going to be brave and take the points and take Arkansas, because at this point Alabama has multiple game breakers. It's not quite last year's offense with Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle when he was healthy, and John Mechie, and the rushing attack that was had Brian Robinson as a backup, and now he's the starter. And obviously Mac Jones was a better quarterback than Bryce Young is, but Bryce Young is your Heisman favorite. He's got 33 touchdowns and 3 picks, and he's the highest rated passer among guys at the top of the passing yards list, which includes PJ Stroud. So it's basically a situation where this Alabama offense has gotten to where they wanted to be. They're doing really well in the red zone. They've scored 94% of their possessions, touchdowns in the red zone. They're at 76%. And I think another difference that really crops up in this game is pressure on the quarterback, and the fact that Arkansas has just 19 sacks on the season. That ranks 84th in the entire country. Alabama, obviously, 34 sacks, ranked 6th. I think they'll be able to get to KJ Jefferson, who was rather ordinary last week in the win over LSU, threw for 125 yards, led them in rushing with just 41 yards on 15 carries. And I think the difference in them winning is the 3 turnovers that they forced. I don't think Alabama is going to make those mistakes at home. I went in looking for reasons to back Arkansas just because they're fundamentally sound and they run the football, and they're probably not going to beat themselves. But I just don't see them executing well enough offensively to challenge Alabama. So we're looking at a situation where the Crimson Tide probably wins by 3 touchdowns, and we're in garbage time, and you're rooting for the defense if you went ahead and laid the points, or you're rooting for a garbage time TD if you took them with the Hogs. And I want no part of that. I would be interested in the under, I think. It's a situation where I think Alabama will run the football late, and keep their any really surprises that they have in store for Auburn next week. So this is a game where you bring your lunch pail, you get out of it 35-10 or so, and it looks like an under to me. So the line seems right. I won't touch it either way, but the total would be my lead, and the total would be an under.
Sure. Good stuff, Tony. Guys, it's going to be a good one here in Tuscaloosa, at least hopefully for Arkansas Razorbacks fans. I'm thinking of one way to maybe make a case for the Arkansas Razorbacks, and it's something that I've noticed watching the Iron Bowl in years past. Usually both Alabama and Auburn have like an FCS team the week before, a low-grade Division I, and for whatever reason last year, playing only conference play, and then this year they're having SEC teams that week before. A thought that came to my mind was maybe looking to fade both Alabama and Auburn this week. But outside of that, Robbie Vino, Tony Mejia bringing the heat here with why Alabama favored by near 3 touchdowns at home. But guys, enjoy this SEC West matchup on Saturday. For Robbie Vino, Tony Mejia, I am Drew Martin. Also remember to check out WagerTalk.com. Monday is a great day to do so. It's $9 Monday. All plays from all handicappers discounted to just $9. Check it out, WagerTalk.com.